Look at it. The sun's trying to peek through on top of that mountain out there.
Oh yeah. Tornado fuel.
We're in Kingsport, Tennessee, headed back south to get back in front of the line that's coming out of Knoxville. Just drove through Duffield, Virginia. They've had major damage from a small twister come through, carved a small path through the city with trees down, power lines down. US 23 over the mountain to Natural Tunnel State Park is totally blocked by debris that fell off the mountain. Talked to some of the fire officials. They said it's going to be a couple of days before they can get it all cleaned up. And they don't know how many roads they do have blocked yet. Because it apparently just happened 30 or 45 minutes before we come through. I don't think all the damage from these storms today will be realized until sometime tomorrow. And there's still more up here in front of us. Knoxville apparently got hit pretty hard, but we wasn't there. And now all those storms are headed over towards Asheville, and that's where we're headed, towards Johnson City, Asheville area. Tracking him too.
Tracking him too. I just started.
Then he must be on one. He must have saw mine.
Yep. So
Yeah, he had to
posted
say
7
something.
minutes ago. So he posted 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, he's tracking him. See, there's 81 right there.
Yeah.
This was the state I was trying to get on.
I had to show you that.
Hoping there's going to be a trip out to the Midwest or Ohio, Indiana, Illinois area again towards the end of the week. So with those more weather coming in, we'll see. I got 5 more days before I got to go back to work for 2 or 3 days. Would be that this year I take the whole month of May off just about it, and the weather wasn't nothing like it was last year during the month of May. But then again, January, February, and March wasn't as busy last year as it was this year either. And I'm sure June is going to be pretty busy as well. Right now we're concentrating on the storms that's coming out of Knoxville headed towards Asheville, North Carolina. The day's still not over. We still got an hour and a half of darkness, and we'll see what we can run into down this way. got Oreo cookies? Give me a couple Oreo cookies. Posted some pictures on Twitter. One of a lowering wall cloud just east of London, Kentucky that was fairly large. And I think I've got some better pictures of it I'll post later. And a picture of Duffield, Virginia, with that big oak tree down in front of the school. I've got other pictures, but it's very hard to post them while we're traveling, so I'll post more of them later. And unfortunately, we had to shut down our first live feed today earlier because we lost all cell coverage going into Duffield, and didn't get it back until we got out of town and out near Interstate 81. I'm going to be using Twitter a lot more in the future to get immediate information out. And so check my Twitter accounts while I'm live. You can check my Twitter accounts. And I'll mention if I've posted any pictures of anything we see that couldn't be on the video in real time because we were in and out of cell coverage. In Asheville. Just trying to take us back to Preston. Just west of Johnson City on Interstate 26, headed towards Asheville. Weather still looks pretty ominous over this way. Surprised that wall cloud east of London, west of London, Kentucky, didn't produce a small tornado out of it. It sure tried for about a half an hour. I'm not sure how the hills and mountains over this way affects the weather and the formation of tornadoes. Maybe Ryan Hall or Pecos Hank or somebody will post a short video on how the hills and mountains affect the weather and whether it lowers the potential because it takes away from the shear at the ground level, or whether it just, depending on the height of the mountains, impacts the entire process of formation. I know we had very little radar coverage. Most of the radar was hitting at 3,000 feet, so it wasn't even able to see at ground level. Which we have to take in consideration when we're out storm chasing, because if radar cannot see the ground level, it may indicate that there's not a tornado there, when in reality there could be one on the ground. Or we could see one and they're not detecting it off the radar, because we're in a black hole area to where the radars are so far away you can't see what's going on the ground level. That's become more and more of a concern of mine this past year, particularly with these nocturnal nighttime tornadoes that we've encountered. Most of them have been in places, Broken Bow, Como, Mississippi, where there just is not a lot of radar coverage in those areas. The one in Como, Mississippi that we captured on video never was warned. No notices from the Weather Service came out at all, which makes me wonder if they saw it, but I saw it on the radar myself, and was on the ground to verify it, but there was no warning. By the time I could have called and they could have put out a warning, it had already lifted. Broken Bow, on the other hand, was a different story, because that's the one that came out of Clarksville, Texas, went through Idabel and killed a couple of people, and then came up into Broken Bow after dark, and was, except for the lightning flashes, was totally invisible to people there. So like I said, we're headed to Johnson City, through to Asheville. There's a line of severe storms coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee towards Asheville. Don't know if they'll dissipate or whether they'll increase in intensity, but we got time. We'll go over and check them out. It's 8:05 p.m. Eastern time. I'm still working off Nashville time at 7:05, but as long as we get a good meal before midnight, I'll be okay. Interstate to Johnson City. I just don't know if we got interstate all the way to Asheville. out the mines. Wish I had a shot of that. Get out more. I really did not know that the mountains were this big, this far over in Tennessee. I thought it was only down in Gatlinburg and Swank Mountain. That area out in front of the cabin, that's all mountains. That's above the highway and bottom of the clouds. Just north of Johnson City, Tennessee, going through the Appalachian Mountains, which are bigger than I thought they were on this side of Tennessee. Duffield, Virginia, we drove through earlier, got hit by a small twister. They've got trees down, power lines down. US 23 southbound over the mountain to Natural Tunnel State Park is totally blocked with debris. Apparently it wasn't a big twister, but the fire officials said it got extremely bad there just 30 or 45 minutes before we came through. And I noticed there was a lot of debris on the highway before we even got into town. But they've definitely got trees down. I posted on Twitter a couple of pictures of a wall cloud in just west of London, Kentucky, and some of the damage in Duffield, Virginia. We've got more video of that. And pictures we'll post probably tomorrow or the next day as soon as we can get back and get all the videos unloaded. Currently driving through the line of storms again, going through Johnson City to Asheville. There's severe thunderstorm alerts out for the entire line. I'm sure it's going to get pretty bad here shortly before we get to Asheville. We're about 50 miles from Asheville. See many chasers out today. To be honest with you, unless it's a 4 or 5 out of 5, I don't know if I'll be coming back into East Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, and the Virginia area to do any chasing. The amount of hills, mountains, curvy roads makes it almost impossible to keep up with the storm. Or even to get in front of them and be able to capture anything. Sometimes you have great views, the majority of the time you have none. What does concern me out here in this area is when they do have bad weather, regardless of what it is. And it was interesting a while ago, I'm very interested in the fault lines inside the United States. The fault line that runs up from Chattanooga up through Virginia and up towards Washington, D.C., where we had that earthquake about a decade or so ago that cracked the Washington Monument. We were on a portion of the road that ran between some of those hills where the fault line is earlier today. And it's easy to see from an airplane if you ever fly over it. But it's interesting that I actually found myself in between some of those mountains where that fault line runs. And when I was over in Cape Girard, where New Madrid fault line is, we've been prepared since 1989 for that fault to go again. And it generally goes over 100 to 150 years or more. And we're way overdue for any kind of an earthquake on the New Madrid fault. If you're not familiar with the New Madrid fault line, in 1812 when they had that massive earthquake that had the Mississippi run backwards and rerouted it 6 miles out of its normal channel. There was over 2,000 plus tremors, small earthquakes after that major earthquake. Today we're chasing storms. I think I'd rather endure a tornado than endure an earthquake. Something about the ground underneath my feet shaking and me not being able to control that or get out of its way is not something that appeases or appeals to me. interesting though. When we formed the second FEMA disaster medical team out of the Panhandle of Florida, and most of the training we did was on earthquakes, not hurricanes or tornadoes, but on earthquakes. And in September of '89, we were actually in Memphis planning the first national disaster drill to replicate the New Madrid fault line having another major earthquake, only to have all the airlift commanders for the military that was there at the meeting have to leave, because that was the day that Desert Shield started out in Kuwait and Iraq. So they all left. And then it was not long after that when the Oakland earthquake occurred, our team was put on standby, and we had a C-130 military plane waiting for us at Eglin to fly us to a military base just southeast of Oakland, and they were going to truck our military team into the earthquake. The problem was we couldn't get FEMA authorization because there was communications out of the earthquake area was totally down, and since the governor's office in Sacramento couldn't get word, they never gave FEMA the okay if they needed help. Therefore, we never got an okay from the feds to be able to respond. First actual deployment of the FEMA DMAT team out of the Panhandle of Florida was to Hurricane Andrew that wiped out most of the county in South Florida when it went through. We lost several members of the team after that. They just couldn't handle what they saw. The devastation was massive. Almost nothing was standing after that Category 5 hurricane went through. The team stayed on the ground for 2 weeks and then got relieved by another team. All that dark in front of us is mountains, people. We're headed to Asheville, and we've got severe thunderstorm warnings all up and down in front of us as we go back through this line for a third time today. Not sure how bad it's going to get. It looked pretty bad coming out of Knoxville. I believe Knoxville and that whole area, Silverville and Gatlinburg, under a flash flood warning right now. And we're headed to Asheville, North Carolina. About 35 miles out of Asheville. Very, very, very difficult, the storm chase in the mountains of East Kentucky, East Tennessee, and western North Carolina. I will never complain about trees in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. I did post some pictures out of my Twitter account if you want to go see, of a fairly large wall cloud, well developed, well defined. We thought it was going to spin off a tornado about 3:30 today, and it tried several times, but never come to fruition. And then there's one or two pictures of Dovetail, Virginia that we drove through not too long ago that apparently got hit by a small twister. They've got power lines, trees down, and US 23 south over the mountain is totally blocked. Asheville will be the furthest we go east and south. We may wait there for them to come through, or we may get on 40 and start heading back west. But probably we will stay in the Asheville area for a couple hours until the whole line of storms comes through. Right now we only have severe thunderstorm warnings out for this line. I don't see any tornado warnings being issued as far as I can see. Just entered North Carolina. So we're in North Carolina, about 30 miles northwest of Asheville, moving back through and in front of the storm line, headed towards the East Coast. Asheville, though, will be the furthest east we go and the further south we go. We've already been through Cookeville, Jamestown, Tennessee, up to London, Kentucky, where there was a major spinning wall cloud that we thought was going to drop a twister, but never did. And then we moved over and through Hazard, Kentucky, and then back down to Duffield, Virginia, where apparently a small twister came through about a half an hour, 45 minutes before we came through. Major tree damage, power lines are down, 23 south over the mountain to Natural Tunnel State Park is all blocked. Which brings me to an important point. One of the things that we are trying to do with our group is bring attention to the areas of the country that do not have enough radar coverage, cell phone coverage, internet coverage. I mean, we saw that in Farmville, Louisiana, when they got hit by a tornado and they had absolutely no prior notice. It was coming. There's no weather radio, very little cell phone coverage, and I understand very little internet. places in Mississippi we've been to where there was tornadoes, no warning was ever put out because the weather service couldn't see below us. Oh, wow. Okay, that was a flash of lightning. Couldn't see below 3, 4, 5,000 feet to be able to see what was on the ground. And in Como, Mississippi, and you can view the video. Take pictures from, well, we are in the middle of the North Carolina mountains, and we have a very little cell coverage up here. We're currently going through 3,100 feet above sea level. And still climbing. Didn't know the mountains in the Carolinas got this tall. It was 3,300 feet and still climbing. I'm saying, man, everything that goes up has got to come down. Scenic overlook. I think I'll pass. Oh, that's 3,500 feet. Man. Newfound Gaps at 4,800 feet. That's over explosions. Well, 3,700 feet above sea level. We're finally tapering off a little bit. Now we're in North Carolina, right? Now we're in North Carolina.
3749 was the highest above sea level. Welcome to North Carolina. 3749 was the highest above sea level.
In the western mountains of North Carolina, we just left 3,750 feet above sea level. We're heading back down. We may lose our cell coverage again as we go down. We're about 20 miles outside Asheville, North Carolina. And I think when we get down here, we'll be in front of the storm line that's coming out of Knoxville. I'm not sure. Because our radar's out right now.
Right to
How many lanes are there?
there's just gonna be one.
I could find the only construction going on in the mountains. I thought Arkansas was bad. I don't think there's an interstate in Arkansas that's not under construction right now.
Thousands of East Tennesseans without power. Thousands of East Tennesseans without power. A storm's hit.
I didn't know that. So we haven't seen the news, but news alert just come through that thousands of people in East Tennessee and Kentucky are without power as storms have come through and knocked out power lines and knocked out trees. Concerned about Knoxville and Gatlinburg and Sevierville. Dolly Parton's hometown. Because they've still got a flash flood warning up for them. We may go through Gatlinburg later tonight. If we do, if there's anything serious going on, we'll try to take some footage of it. I hope there's not though. It doesn't take much up the mountains for all this runoff to flood the little rivers around the mountains and eventually flood the towns too. Whether it's Tennessee, Georgia, or Kentucky. Getting how many mountains Asheville has around it when you get over into western North Carolina.
Richmond is up here.
How far?
It's, 51 miles.
Okay. So that's the one that went through that they put the warning out for. Remember that was north of us?
Yes.
Dropped all the warnings, man.
Now it's just a severe thunderstorm.
Well, we see that now that we got our radar back up, that the weather people have dropped all warnings and watches for right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't put out some flash flood warnings as the rest of the rain comes through. We hit some really heavy rain between Hazard, Kentucky and London, Kentucky this afternoon. And another warning out on the afternoon showers. But with the warnings all gone now and the watches and us pulling into Asheville, North Carolina, I think we're going to shut our leak feed down now. We haven't ate all afternoon or evening yet. So I'd grab some supper and head back towards Nashville. See you again next time.